Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Thames Center regularly scheduled council meeting. The date is Monday, June 29th, and the time is 5 p.m. and I would like to call this meeting to order. There are no additions to the agenda that I'm aware of. So may I have a mover and a seconder to approve the agenda as circulated? Moved by Deputy Mayor Smybert and seconded by Councillor Crockett. All in favor? And that carries. Thank you. Any disclosures of pecuniary interest from the members of council? Okay, see none. And we do have a couple of announcements tonight. First of all, it's my very great pleasure on behalf of the council and the municipality to congratulate a long-term member of our community. Just recently, Mr. Alan Marr received the 2025 Ontario Senior Achievement Award. The program honors individuals for their exceptional long-term efforts and outstanding contributions to the well-being of the community. Al has had a significant impact in both Thames Centre and Middlesex County during the time he spent first as Reeve of North Dorchester, then mayor following amalgamation, and as well he served as warden of Middlesex County. To this day, Al continues to contribute to municipal committees and the Western Fair Board. A two-time Queen's Jubilee Medal recipient, Al is widely respected as a mentor and community leader. In addition, for over 50 years, he's been an active member of the Dorchester and District Lions Club, raising funds for the Senior Center, Food Bank, diabetes awareness, in addition to lending to support to countless community events. I would like to invite all of us to join in congratulating Al Marr for his many years of service to this community. And now I'm going to turn it over to Councillor Crockett for some announcements regarding Canada Day.
Thank you, Mayor. Hard to believe, but our festivities begin tomorrow. So fireworks will be taking place in the Dorchester Community Park at dusk, so Tuesday, June 30th. We will have the Sandpipers band playing and our wonderful Dorchester Lions Club running a barbecue and beer tent. The festivities continue on Wednesday, July 1st in the community park again. We have the IOED breakfast from 9 until 11 at the Flight Exec Center. We have the Kinsman's duck race taking place between the bridges. Opening ceremonies will be at 12 and an afternoon full of fun for all ages. We have a number of musical guests joining us, as well as some music bingo hosted by Councillor Lockie. So with that, we hope everyone's able to join us if you're in town, and it should be a good time. Everyone will have their red and white on and ready to go after that wonderful soccer win last night too. So yay.
Good, thanks very much, Councillor Crockett. The next item on our agenda is the presentation and delegations regarding the Thames Centre Fire Department service medal presentation. So I believe we have a piper to come and start us off, and then I'm going to call on the chief.
Especially with the good looking. Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of council, senior staff, and guests, and Thames Center firefighter family. Today, I am joined by District Chief Officers Wes Fox, Rick Sager, Aaron Lightfoot, and our OFM advisor, Joe Krogman. We've gathered to present significant milestones and achievements from our volunteer fire services. TCFD has a notable history of having long-serving members, many serving 2, 3, and sometimes more than 4 decades, committing their efforts to protecting their families, their friends, and their neighbors. It must be added that these folks have not selected these roles as their careers, but rather to serve their beloved municipality as volunteers. The Fire Service's Canadian Exemplary Service Medal and the Ontario Fire Service's Long Service Medal are prestigious honors that recognize the dedication, professionalism, and long-term commitment of firefighters who have devoted themselves to protecting their communities. The Canadian Fire Service's Exemplary Service Medal, awarded on behalf of the Governor-General of Canada, recognizes firefighters who have completed 20 years of exemplary service, including at least 10 years in duties involving potential risk. Additional service is recognized through bars awarded for each subsequent 10-year period of qualifying service. The Ontario Fire Service Long Service Medal, awarded by the Province of Ontario, recognizes firefighters who have completed 25 years of dedicated service with an Ontario Fire Department. Service bars are awarded for additional years of service, celebrating continued commitment to the fire service and the communities they protect. These awards represent more than just years of service. They recognize the professionalism, sacrifice, and unwavering commitment demonstrated by firefighters throughout their time in the service. Council's recognition of these recipients reflects the municipality's appreciation for those who have dedicated decades to protecting the lives and property of our residents and serving the community with honor and distinction. We begin by recognizing 2 members who have met and surpassed 20 years of service, qualifying for the Canadian Fire Service's Exemplary Service Medal. Please join me in congratulating firefighter Andrew Morell and acting captain Mike Richardson. Excellent. Rise. Okay. One way around. Hey guys, just make your way through here. Yeah, round the gauntlet here, and then we'll take a picture. Thank you. There, picture.
Can you step?
Yeah. As mentioned, the next increment of recognition comes from the province of Ontario in the form of the Ontario Fire Service's Long Service Medal. The following firefighters have dedicated 25 years of their lives to our service. Please join me in congratulating, and stand, gentlemen, once you come on up. Please join me in congratulating firefighters Dave Bro, Mike Olds, Derek Johnson, Blair Chowan, and Acting Captain Steve Gabalus. Want to stand over here? Okay, we got to wrap it quick in. Yeah. Maybe you want to stand forward. Everybody step back. All right. Thanks, guys. Thank you. Good to see you. Nope, there's a couple more yet. As we move on, we now recognize a member who receives recognition for 30 years, 3 decades of service. Please join me in congratulating Captain Mike Fox. For the next milestone, we reach 35 years. It's 35 years of service. Celebrating this achievement is firefighter Scott Kerr, and we welcome back retired Captain Blair Stevens. Congratulations on 35 years. Continuing on, we now get to celebrate a rare milestone. 4 decades of service is a achievement that few firefighters ever reach. TCFD is lucky enough to have one of those long-serving individuals in our midst. This member has been an integral part of TCFD's leadership team for many years, and our service would not be where it is today if it weren't for his unwavering commitment to the safe and smooth operation of this fire department. Please join me in congratulating District Chief Wes Fox on 40 years. Lastly, I'd like to recognize 2 of our members here tonight that are about to embark into their well-deserved retirement. Between the 2 of these members, they have almost 8 decades of fire service experience. They have surely left their mark on the TCFD family, and although it is sad to see them leave, we couldn't be happier for them to enjoy their free time in retirement. Please join me in congratulating firefighter Scott Kerr and Deputy District Chief Rick Sager on their well-deserved retirement. I'll speak into the mic here. I'd like to thank the OFM's Joe Krogman for being here to help us present, along with my fellow district chiefs. And I'd like to say thanks to Jim Scott, our bagpiper for today. Thanks very much, Jim. Yeah. Okay. And now we're going to conclude the ceremony by inviting all of the guests to actually exit first if they would like, because we're going to celebrate our medal recipients by lining up and piping them out officially. You can. Don't have to. The protocol. Yeah. Kind of neat. This is where you're going to walk out with me before these guys. Yeah. When you guys hear the music playing.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're reconvening. So the item on our agenda is the approval of the previous minutes of June 15th, 2026, and the special council meeting held on June 19th. So a mover and a seconder to approve the minutes as circulated. Councillor Crockett and Deputy Mayor Smybert. All in favor? Okay, I think I see everyone here. All right, and that carries. We'll move on to item number 9, the consent agenda. Items listed under the consent agenda are received for information in one motion. Council members may request that one or more items be separated for further action. Is there anything anyone wants to pull from the agenda? From this consent agenda, that is. Okay, all right. So a mover and a seconder to receive items 9.1 through 9.9 to be received for information. Oh, okay. Moved by Deputy Mayor Smybert and seconded by Councillor Lockie. All in favor? And that carries. The next item is item number 10 on your agenda, the reports of departments. The first one is 10.1, and we're going to ask our Director of Financial Services, Ken Clerk, to present.
Good evening, Mayor and members of Council. This report brings forward 2 recommendations: approval of the municipality's first formal investment policy and authorization to enter into an agreement with One Investment. Historically, our funds have remained in low-yield bank accounts. This policy establishes a clear governance framework to manage municipal reserves in a way that prioritizes capital preservation, liquidity, and legislative compliance, while also improving returns over time. The proposed approach is cautious and phased, beginning with the investment of $5 million of idle cash into a diversified, predominantly fixed income portfolio. I'll now turn it over to the One Investment team to provide further detail on their program and go through a presentation that will be valuable to Council.
Red is on.
Red is good, not bad. Awesome. And then do we use this as well? Perfect. Excellent. We got this. Thank you. Great to be here today. Thank you, Mayor, Council, and staff for inviting us. I'm Jason Hagan, Program Manager with One Investment and AMO and LAS. With me is Keith Taylor. He's our Chief Investment Officer. And we were asked by staff to come and speak a little bit about who we are and what we do on the investment front for municipalities. So happy to take any questions throughout or at the end at the Mayor's discretion. Next slide, please. It might be because it was a PDF. Yeah. Or maybe I messed it up. That's also possible. This is no reflection on our ability to get to investments. But thank you for having us. So One Investment, just a bit of who we are. We're a not-for-profit organization owned by AMO and LAS and also by the Municipal Finance Officers Association, a 50-50 partnership. And our sole purpose is to handle investments and investment advice for Ontario municipalities and your local boards and commissions. So at the end of the day, whether it's an investor with $100,000 or $100 million, it makes no difference to us. It's the same relationship we want to have with 444 municipalities if they want to work with us. One Investment was incorporated in 2018. We have an Ontario Securities Commission exemption to be able to provide investment advice through Keith Taylor. Prior to that, we operated as a program on the side of MFOA and AMO's other work, and we've been doing that since 1993. So right now, about 40% of Ontario municipalities or their boards and commissions have some sort of investment with One Investment. Next slide, please. So what does it look like? We have 3 streams of work here, and there's no test on the numbers, but
The gold part is prudent investment. This is a part allowable under the Municipal Act, which I'll speak to a little bit later. But where we're to talk about today is the gray and the blue part, and this is our traditional lines of business. The gray are our pooled investment portfolios that we guarantee to be compliant with the Municipal Act, and for which we charge quite competitive fees compared to any other opportunities you might have. And the blue piece is our high interest savings accounts. So these are effectively bank accounts that we've worked with two Schedule I banks to kind of beef them up a bit to get better rates of return than many municipalities can get on their own. Collectively, it's about 5.8. It's actually closer to $5.9 billion we invest for municipalities at this time. Next slide, please. This slide is just to say whether you're small or large, there's lots of municipalities in your population demographic, and the two gold or orange, depending on the resolution of the monitor, tell us how many of those municipalities in each one of those buckets invest with one. So we have the smallest of the small, and we have some of the largest of the large. And the point is here that we're flexible and adaptable, and effectively every municipality except for the city of Toronto is governed by the same investment rules. So it really is one approach fits all investment types. Next slide, please. This is our approach to our work, and we find it's quite successful. So there's a third prong to our stool that is not here today. Jennifer Hess works for MFOA, and she is a municipal finance practitioner, 15 years of municipal capital development work. I have a background, I have a master's in public administration, so I come with the policy and the politics side of it to try and help figure out what's practical. And then Keith comes to the equation with 30 years on Bay Street as our chief investment officer. So between that, under the rules that exist for municipalities, we feel that we can help with the right approach, even if that approach is suggesting that the municipality keep their money in their bank or use GICs. Really, it's a relationship game for us. It's not who invests the most or what. Slide, please. And then one more. Thank you very much for the help. Under the Municipal Act, the investment regulations are pretty clear, and I won't go deep on these, but if anybody ever wants to have a bit of a deeper dive, just feel free to call. We're happy to. The Act follows the rules on the left side under legal list. And how the Act is worded is it says that a municipality can invest in any investment listed in this regulation. So if the investment you're looking at isn't listed, it's not allowed. And so it's the doctrine of express authority. If you're not listed, you're not allowed. It's very clear. It's very easy to monitor, but that type of rule does not evolve with capital markets. So the last time the regulation was looked at was 2019. So capital markets have come a long way. So what we guarantee to an investor is that every investment is guaranteed to be compliant with that rule under the legislation. The right side, prudent investor, which is outside of our scope for today, the Act allows a municipality under certain criteria to have a globally diversified portfolio with an independent investment board and a couple of other mechanisms. So certainly of interest, I would say, to the municipality downstream, but we always handle things with a crawl, walk, and run approach. And then you guys are moving into an active investment strategy, which would be your walk. Slide, please. The portfolios that would be available under our legalist approach, so that left side that we guarantee to be compliant with the regulation, are a high interest savings account. We have two offerings of those, one with CIBC, one with Scotiabank. We have a government bond portfolio, we have a corporate bond portfolio, we have a Canadian equity portfolio. And there's an asterisk beside the corporate bond and the Canadian equity. And that is because those two investment types for longer term corporate bonds and Canadian equities are only allowed for municipalities through one investment. So it is an area in exclusivity, one we never asked for, but one that we got back in 2006. And we've done a lot of work with municipalities in this space. So all of these portfolios, every investment that the municipality would hold with one, fully liquid and available. The purpose of giving an intended duration is to say that these investment types can have a certain amount of up and down, and Keith will speak to that. But following this kind of model in mind, that's where you get the longer term strategy that fits for the municipality. Next slide. Thank you. On the high interest savings account option, these are the two rates as of current bank prime rates. So whether or not these are competitive for the municipality, we leave that to staff to consider. But again, this is the simplest thing we offer. Bank deposits, move on from that. Our bond portfolios, as Keith will say, kind of the target is to beat inflation. And then when you get to the equity space, you want a next slide. Governance, everybody wants to know that their investments are taken care of. So day-to-day work with the portfolio is managed by Keith and our portfolio managers, who are not one investment staff. We hire Toronto money management firms to handle this work for us. The governance piece comes, as I said, daily from Keith overseeing the portfolios. We have a chief compliance officer who we contract for. And then we have the one investment board, who is 10 representatives. 9 of them are municipal staff and 1 is a chartered financial analyst. They make sure that the operations of the business are appropriate, much like council does for the municipality. And then we have an investment advisory committee that meets 4 times a year, and they meet with the portfolio managers. So those folks come to the table with an investment sector experience, and their job is to say, within what is allowable under the law, are you taking advantage of all the things available? And are you taking risks and opportunities that are appropriate? So that's how we make sure that the managers are performing, and how between the investment committee and Keith, we're making sure that the product is appropriate for municipality. Next slide. And with that, I'll pass it to Keith to talk about some of the investment pieces.
Thank you, Jason. I just have a couple slides here. There's some investment basics, things you have to know about, or you should know about before you get involved in investing. The first thing is about volatility, and we have in this particular graph 3 asset classes. We'll call the blue one money market, and this is returns over a rolling 12-month period. And you'll see it's pretty boring. It's pretty flat. It's not going to give you any lost night's sleep in terms of the performance. It doesn't necessarily give you a great return. The next one is the red line, which is a proxy on the Canadian bond universe. It gives arguably better returns over long periods of time. You will see that there's ups and downs. This is again rolling 12-month returns. Bonds, people think, can only make you money, but there are periods of time when they actually can lose you money. But a little bit more volatility than the money market. And the last one, of course, is equities. Potential for much greater returns, and sometimes the type of excitement you don't like. As you can see that there's times when it has had sharp downturns, which is always, it's a risk. Equity markets perform well over long periods of time. They misbehave over shorter periods of time. Next slide, please. And when they misbehave, this chart shows you when they've misbehaved the most. It shows periods where the Canadian equity market has been down more than 7.5% over a 12-month period of time. And it tends to occur every 7 to 11 years. It's never, no one knows when. But the point is that it's part of the game with equity investing. It is volatile. Oddly enough, if you have a diversified portfolio, you're investing both in equities and bonds. One offsets the other. And in fact, when equity markets are weak, typically investors take money off the table and park it someplace safe, which is bonds. And that's one of the reasons that that bonds tend to perform well when equities do not. So we would always recommend, don't put all your eggs in one basket. And next slide, this is, I guess, well, let's just do some pretend. Let's assume that you had $100 in 2002, and you put that $100 into bonds and reinvested the coupons. What would that be worth today? You would have more than doubled your money. I think that's typically the approach that's used here with municipal money. That it will tend to keep pace with inflation, maybe give you a little bit more. The blue line is the one I wanted to talk about, obviously. If you invested that $100 in equities instead, you would have basically a 5-fold increase. You will notice there's some dips in here. In the long term, it's not as apparent. In 2008, you can see that it actually lost some people money. The whole point is, if you have money that is long-term in nature, invest for the long term. The trend is your friend. So again, with diversification. And the last slide. is basically, we discussed with staff, what should you do with longer term money? And we know that equity investing is something that traditionally has not been entertained. But because of the attributes of it, I think that it would be worthwhile to consider having at least some in the portfolio. And this is attributable only to long-term money. You have money in the bank or GICs of the sort for shorter-term needs. But for those long-term monies that you don't intend to touch for at least 5 years or so, putting at least a portion of that into equities will lead to better long-term returns. So that's what we'll stop the presentation at. And if there's any questions, now's the time.
Thanks very much for the presentation. I'll turn it over to council now if there are any questions that anyone would like to ask. I see Councillor Lockie's hand raised. Go ahead, Danielle.
Thank you, Your Worship. So just for clarification, so at the beginning, so you mentioned that you're a not-for-profit organization, but you'd also mentioned that your fees are very competitive. So what are the fees for? Like where does the revenue from the fees go? We're not-for-profit.
Yeah, well, part of them, we're sitting here in front of you. That would be one part of it, is staff complement. Would be the governance side as well, our board functions. We have to pay the portfolio managers for the work they do, and then we have to pay for a custodian to administer the investments. So that's a professional like bank custodian, and then we have to pay legal fees for any questions that come up, and then just the general operations of the business.
Okay. Thank you.
And then the fees are, and I'm sorry, I should have had a slide in there about that. The portfolio fees range from 40 basis points, so 0.4% to 0.5% for the equity investments. And the bank accounts have no fee to the municipality.
Okay.
Good. Anyone else with a question? Councillor Crockett.
Thank you, Mayor. I think my question actually is likely for Ken. I was just curious if we're currently making similar investments elsewhere.
Through you, Mayor. So we don't have an investment policy. That's what's on the floor today to make those kind of investments. We earn a little bit of interest just on our general bank balance, and through the cemetery we have a bit of funds, but they're just parked in say GIC investments. But we haven't, have a diversified portfolio.
Anyone else with a question? Okay. Well, we have a motion before you, which is attached to your agenda and will be on the screen shortly. I'll give you a minute to read it. So, do we have, I'm sorry? No, would you like me to read the whole thing? Okay. Is everyone fine with the motion as you had a chance to read it? A mover and a seconder then that the report number FS 013-26 investment policy and option to invest with one investment be received. And further the approvals. A mover and a seconder. Moved by Deputy Mayor Smybert and seconded by Councillor Lockie. All in favor? And that carries. Thanks very much for coming in tonight. I think it's smart to look at our finances in a different way. Right. Okay. Thank you. So 10.2, yeah. So the next item on the agenda is 10.2 PDS-030-26 municipally initiated zoning bylaw housekeeping amendment pertaining to shipping containers, otherwise known as CCAN. And we'll look to our senior planner, Lindsay Noren, to present.
Good afternoon, Mayor and members of council. Tonight I am presenting report PDS-030-26 regarding a municipally initiated housekeeping amendment to our Thames Center zoning bylaw relating to shipping containers, or commonly referred to as sea cans. The purpose of this amendment is to address a gap in the current zoning bylaw. The proposed regulations permit containers as accessory structures within agricultural, commercial, and industrial zones where outdoor storage and operational needs are more common, while prohibiting them in residential, institutional, open space, and environmentally sensitive zones except for limited temporary purposes. Following the public participation meeting held in November of 2025, staff reviewed comments received and revised several provisions of the draft bylaw. These revisions pertained to setback requirements, maximum permitted heights, stacking provisions, updating permit requirements to align with the current building code, and incorporating policies that recognize the use of shipping containers as building materials where otherwise they wouldn't have been permitted in certain zones. Changes are contained in the chart of the staff report for your reference. For the purposes of this presentation, some of the more common inquiries on CCANs that have been addressed within the attached bylaw are as follows. So first, the amount of CCANs per lot, specifically in agricultural areas, was addressed. So originally this had limited lots under 1 hectare to only 1 CCAN. The bylaw has been revised so that any lot where a CCAN is permitted under this bylaw, the provisions for lot coverage for accessory buildings in that zone will prevail. Number 2 would be height and stacking. So we understand that there is a desire in certain situations to stack a CCAN. Previously, we had some restrictions on that. And after some research with the building department, the height of a CCAN is approximately about 2.5 meters, give or take. Because of this, the height restriction has been modified to a maximum of 6 meters from grade to the top of the container to reduce staff and administrative work operationally to process minor variances, which would have been required to stack one on top of the other, as the accessory building height is 5 meters. Permissions in areas where residential uses and industrial uses are present. So this is specific to the Stardust area, kind of by Donnybrook Drive. We received an inquiry from a business owner in an area zoned residential industrial, or RM. The bylaw has now been updated as planning has deemed it appropriate to allow CCANs within this area, given the nature and the intent of this specific zone and the current uses that operate within it. Also setbacks on a corner lot that abut a front yard. So where a rear yard is adjacent to the front yard of a residential lot, the setback has been updated to reflect the setback for an exterior side yard accessory building, which is 4.5 meters from the property line. As well as screening and maintenance, these provisions were removed as they can be addressed through our property standards bylaw. And where indicated as a part of a building or used as a material in construction associated with a permit in a zone where containers are not otherwise permitted, planning will review this on a case-by-case basis through means of minor variance, as we have done in previous cases throughout the municipality. And then a couple other things that we've received just today. One being, how are we going to treat existing CCANs in zones where they're otherwise not permitted under this bylaw? We are a complaint-driven system. So once we receive a complaint of a CCAN, say in a residential zone, we will proceed accordingly with enforcement. Happy to take any questions. Thanks.
Thanks very much, Lindsay. Any questions from the members of council? Councillor Crockett?
Thank you, Mayor. Lindsay addressed one of my questions, which is how to deal with the CCANs currently in locations that will be impacted by this. But I really just wanted to make a comment and say thank you. I know that this has been a long time coming, and a lot of work has been done on this. And I know that there was a lot of comments come in following our public meeting, and I just want to say thank you, and I appreciate the effort that went into it to make all those accommodations to the comments that were positive to this. So thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Crockett. Anyone else with a question or a comment? Okay, I'm not seeing anyone. So the motion before us, a mover and a seconder, that the report number PDS 030-26 be received for information, and that the municipally initiated housekeeping amendment to the Thames Centre Comprehensive Zoning Bylaw number 752006 be approved, and that the implementation bylaw be considered as included in the bylaw portion of the agenda. Moved by Deputy Mayor Smyber and seconded by Councillor Lockie. All in favor? And that carries. Thank you, Lindsay. Okay, we're gonna go. All right, we're gonna call on Director of Community Services and Facilities to present item number 10.3 on the agenda, the CSF 022-26 Great Lakes Canadians Project Proposal.
Through you, your worship, you have before you report CS 022-26. The purpose of this report is to request council's approval for staff to finalize terms with Great Lake Canadians to proceed with an upgrade to our original natural grass and clay diamond at the Orc, known as the Field of Dreams. This project would upgrade the infield of this ball diamond to artificial turf, with Great Lake Canadians bearing all costs with the exception of the following. The available funds on hand from fundraising they've done thus far would be used to offset a portion of this cost, and Thames Center would take care of the cost of a couple of minor things. Those being, first of all, a repair to drainage in the right field, which was going to be done regardless. So it's not really directly linked to this project, but that's a cost we've already planned to do this year under our operating budget. And the reason I mention it is because it ties in when if and when the infield is replaced, that drainage for the new infield would tie into the portion of the outfield drainage that we need to repair. And then secondly, there'd be a modest cost of around $2,000 to terminate the sprinkler heads that are currently in the infield. Once it's artificial turf, we don't need sprinklers there. As well, we would allow Great Lake Canadians to promote naming and sponsorship opportunities for the Field of Dreams, with those proceeds helping further offset their cost. And to make it simple, we determined, as specified in the report, that to get naming rights for the diamond, it would be $50,000, and all the other naming rights that we had set, that council had agreed to for Royal Field, would be 50% of that cost, or so half price, to get the naming rights for anything else at this diamond, because it's still the secondary diamond. But with these improvements, there would potentially be generating a lot of interest for people to get their name on things there, so which would help with everything. The total project cost has been quoted at over $400,000, meaning that it's a substantial private investment from Great Lake Canadians that would greatly benefit Thames Center. Of the advantages for this project, they include, firstly and foremost for our department and for staff, a substantial reduction in the regular repairs and maintenance of this ball diamond. It eliminates the need to mow, fertilize, water, and chalk the infield. But more than that is to do the daily repairs to a clay infield on a good day is about 2 hours of staff time. And after a tournament weekend is easily 8 hours, because clay has to be restored in layers. You tamp in some clay, and then you water it, and then you let it dry, and then you tamp in more clay and layer it up. So it's estimated, a rough estimate for the savings in that repair maintenance alone is between $10,000 to $20,000 a year that we'll save on that alone. As well, the other benefits for switching to artificial include improved drainage and durability, resulting in a longer playing season and fewer canceled games and practices due to rain. So with fewer cancellations, that reduces the negative impact on our rental revenues. Safety as well. The superior playing surface is not subject to holes, divots, bare spots that can become trip hazards and injury hazards in normal infield. Also providing more superior, consistent playability of the field. As well, this new infield would include adjustable base pegs, so that it could also accommodate younger teams up to U12 and up. So expanding the number of teams that can take advantage of this diamond. As well, it will help just further make the outdoor rec complex an even more highly sought after venue for baseball tournaments and events. And the existing clay that's in the infield through discussions with Public Works, we could make use of that in our landfill. So it'd be free material for the landfill. And with that being said, I am happy to answer any questions that council may have.
Thanks, Mr. McDonald. Any questions from the members of council? Councillor Lockie.
Thank you, through your worship. So just a question regarding about the cost. The cost to sponsor any other aspect of this ball diamond can be sold by GLC for as low as 50% of the rate. So have we quantified any, like the cost of the lost revenue for this point?
There's not going to be any lost revenue. Do you mean the discounted or the reduced price for naming rights?
Right, yes.
So we don't see it as lost revenue. We see this as just adjusting accordingly. It's the secondary ball diamond, so it wouldn't warrant or command as high of a price to sponsor or have naming rights as the crown jewel, that being Royal Field. So it's just a price adjustment based on the prestige of the secondary diamond.
Okay. And I love all of the savings. Do we have like a dollar value estimate of the savings from having the proposed artificial turf system?
It's hard to put an exact number on it, but we're looking at over the course of the lifetime of that turf, with it being at least 20 years, that we would save in that time a minimum of $300,000 over 20 years, which is pretty much the payback to replace the turf.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Lockie. Anyone else? Deputy Mayor Smybrick.
Just a comment that I think in your report, it does show lots of positives in terms of this project. And I'm just grateful that there's this private investment in order to upgrade our facilities. So I think that's a really good partnership moving forward.
Thanks, Deputy Mayor Smybrick. Anyone else? Okay, then in that case that you have a motion in front of you, and I'm wondering if we have a mover and a seconder. Moved by Councillor Crockett and seconded by Councillor Lockie. All in favor? And that carries. Okay, next item on the agenda, 10.4, fire -001-26 fire department cost recovery considerations, and we'll look to our chief Nick Dorkin to present.
Fire prevention. Thank you, Mayor, and this evening through the mayor and to the councils. I'm here to present report fire 00126 for fire department cost recovery considerations, that these notes be received for information. So just a little bit of a background from the report as well. The fire department provides a range of services beyond emergency response, including fire prevention inspections, permit administration, public education, and enforcement activities. While many of these services are provided for the collective benefit of the community, certain activities primarily benefit individual property owners, occupants, or businesses, and may appropriately be subject to cost recovery. So over the recent years, operating costs associated with fire service delivery has increased, again, due to rising stipends or honorariums, increased apparatus maintenance, costs of apparatus, higher fuel and utility expenses, enhanced training and certification requirements is a hot topic, increased admin and regulatory responsibilities. So in addition, the department continues to respond to incidents that could be avoided through compliance with municipal regulations and fire safety requirements. So these include a number of the topics that are written in the report, from burn permits to fire inspections, and nuisance alarms. Those would be new fees that we don't currently have in our fees and charges bylaw. And then ones that could be for your consideration to be increased would be responses to uncontrolled open air burns, and fire report fees. that would be, yeah, that's a bit of the background for the reason for this. Again, just addressing the where the current fees and charges currently sit compared to looking around at comparisons in other fire departments throughout the province. What is typically considered for fees and charges, again, just for some opportunity for cost recovery where it doesn't exist or it's very minimal at this time. So happy to entertain any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Any questions from the members of council? Deputy Mayor Smybert.
Yeah, thank you. I think this is a good report, and I think it's important that we take a look at any cost recovery measures to offset some of the costs associated with the department. In terms of the nuisance fire alarms, do you have in mind how many repeated offenses before a charge would occur?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Through the mayor, there are a couple different models that we could approach with, and this isn't going to be one that I foresee as a big topic. We may, in my almost 3 years since being here, I think that we would have been crossing this bridge maybe 2 or 3 times. So it's not a common problem. However, it could be, especially as we grow in our communities and have more and more, we'll say, industrial and commercial occupancies. Again, this is not to be directed towards residential. And I decided to not include that in the proposal because that we don't want to deter people from calling in alarms. That's a subject that we don't want to cross into where people are afraid of calling the fire department. We want to encourage people to call us if they want clarity on an alarm ringing, especially with carbon monoxide alarms ringing. That's a growing concern. We're doing a lot more every year. We're increasing our carbon monoxide alarm responses. So again, not for the residential purposes, more for the commercial and industrial. If we have technicians out and about who are testing alarm systems, whether it be sprinkler systems or alarm monitoring, and they're not calling in, letting us know or putting the system on test, and we're being called out, it's costly for operations. And if we can avoid this, we can give a warning. If we do it again within 12 months or so, let's start to recover some costs. That's the idea behind that. But again, hasn't been that big of a nuisance. Just don't want it to get there.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, it's fairly lengthy motion on your agenda. Do I have a mover and a seconder? Deputy Mayor Smybert and Councillor Crockett, all in favor? And that carries. Okay. All right. So now we will move into the public participation meetings for planning. Mover and a seconder that council adjourn its regular meeting at 6:03 p.m. and move into public participation meetings pursuant to the Planning Act to consider applications on the June 29th, 2026 regular council agenda. Moved by Deputy Mayor Smybert and seconded by Councillor Crockett. All in favor? And that carries. Okay, item number 7.1, a zoning bylaw amendment application Z7-26 for the property at 23655 Welburn Road, and an overview by our planner, Alana Curtis. Go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you. So the purpose and effect of this application is to rezone the subject property from the Hamlet residential zone to a site-specific Hamlet residential zone to permit the construction of an accessory building that is larger in size and greater in height than permitted within a residential zone, as well as to permit an additional residential unit on the subject lands. So the applicants are proposing to construct a 353 square meter accessory building, of which 255 square meters would be used as an accessory building, and 98 square meters would be used as an ARU. The increased height of 7 meters is intended to accommodate a travel trailer and RV. So the applicants originally requested a maximum building height of 6.7 meters, which was included in the public meeting notice. However, following circulation, staff were advised that the applicants wish to revise the requested height from 6.7 to 7 meters. So the provincial planning statement, county official plan, and Thames Center official plan all allow for ARUs in settlement areas and the agricultural area. The ARU would be considered subordinate in scale and clearly secondary to the principal dwelling. And the request for an increased floor area and height of the building is not anticipated to result in adverse impacts or undermine the subordinate nature of the accessory building in relation to the primary dwelling. With regard to the revised request for the height of the structure, Section 3417 of the Planning Act indicates where change is made in a proposed bylaw after the holding of the public meeting, council shall determine whether any further notice is to be given. And staff is of the opinion that no further notice is necessary as the revised request does not materially alter the intent of the original request. So based on the foregoing, staff is of the opinion that the application has regard for Section 2 of the Planning Act, is considered to be consistent with the provincial planning statement, and is in conformity with both the county and Thames Center official plans. So with regard to comments received during the circulation of the public meeting notice, agency comments were received from the Director of Public Works, the Drainage Superintendent, the County Engineer, the Upper Thames River Conservation Authority, and the Chief Building Official, and these comments are included within the report. No public comments have been received to date, so staff recommend that the zoning bylaw amendment application be approved and that the implementing bylaw be considered, and that no further notice be required pursuant to Section 3417 of the Planning Act with regard to the revised maximum height for the reasons outlined in the report. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Elena. So at this point, we'll ask, is the applicant or agent online and wishing to speak? Okay, Mr. Finlater, whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Your Worship and members of council. Yeah, I have reviewed the report from Alana, and I agree with the analysis and the recommendation that she's provided council this evening. And I would simply ask council to approve the application as applied for, and I'd be happy to answer any questions if there are any. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone from the public wishing to comment? No one? Okay. Members of council, anyone wishing to comment or question? No, it seems not. So at that point then, if there's no other discussion, the public participation meeting is now closed, and we'll move to the decision again, as indicated on your pre-circulated agenda. Moved by Councillor Crockett and seconded by Deputy Mayor Smybert. All in favor? And that carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Finlater.
Thank you.
The next item is 7.2, the zoning by law amendment application Z9-26 for the property at 2250 Elgin Road. Again, an overview by the planner.
Thank you, Your Worship, through you. So I'll be presenting this on behalf of Aaron tonight. So the purpose and effect of the zoning bylaw amendment application is to rezone the balance of the farmland severed through application for consent B2-26 to prohibit any new residential use consistent with provincial and local planning policy. So the property was subject to consent application B2-26, which received conditional approval on May 11th of this year. The application facilitated a reverse surplus farm dwelling severance, resulting in the separation of the existing dwelling from the larger farm operation. Staff note that through the review of consent application B2-26, the original recommendation was that the application be refused, and staff were of the opinion that the proposed retained parcel at approximately 24 acres was not limited to the minimum size necessary to accommodate the dwelling and private servicing, And that's as required by the provincial planning statement and the county and Thames Center official plans. And although the consent was ultimately approved by council, staff's planning opinion regarding the appropriateness of the retained parcel has not changed. As a condition of B2-26, the remnant farm parcel is required to be rezoned to prohibit future residential development. And accordingly, this application has been submitted. The existing environmental protection zone on the property is to remain unchanged. So the provincial planning statement, County of Middlesex official plan, and Thames Center official plan permit the severance of a residence surplus to a farming operation as a result of farm consolidation, provided that the new lot is limited to the minimum size required to accommodate the residential use and servicing, and provided that the future residential development is prohibited on the remnant farm parcel. Although the rezoning application has been submitted as a condition of consent, staff are unable to support the application, as doing so would be inconsistent with the original planning rationale for the consent application. So accordingly, staff recommend refusal of the application and are of the opinion that the proposal is not consistent with the provincial planning statement and does not conform to the Thames Center or county official plans. With regard to comments received during the circulation of the public meeting notice, comments were received from the Director of Public Works, the Drainage Superintendent, Chief Building Official, and the Upper Thames River Conservation Authority, and these comments are included within the report. ExxonMobil also provided comments and advised no active imperial infrastructure in the vicinity of this location. No public comments have been received to date, so staff recommend that the report be received for information and that the application for zoning bylaw amendment be refused for the reasons outlined in the report. Thank you.
Thank you, Alana. Are there any any questions from the members of council? Did I miss that? Oh, sorry. My apologies. Any additional information from the applicant or the agent? No, nothing. Okay. Anyone online? No, okay. So now we'll ask council. Any questions? Councillor Crockett.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, I appreciate planning's recommendation. I believe that the rezoning application should be approved to allow the farmland to continue being used as intended through the original severance. So I would like to make a motion to approve.
Okay. Do we have a seconder for that motion? Deputy Mayor Smyber? All in favor of the motion? Maybe what I'll do is, in this case, is read it out. That report number PDS-028-26 be received for information, and that the application for zoning bylaw amendment Z9-26 requested by 1441200 Ontario Inc. for lands legally described as part of lots 14 and 15, concession 5, geographic township of North Dorchester, and part 1 RP 33R 3613 municipality of Thames Center and known municipally as 250 Elgin Road, County Road 73 be approved. And that the implementing bylaw be considered as included in the bylaw portion of the agenda.
Yes, as introduced.
Okay. Did I read the wrong? Are we all good? Are we all good then? All right then. So I'll call the question. All in favor? And I don't see anyone opposed. So the motion carries. All right. Thanks. Thanks for your attendance. All right. So we will close the public meeting at 6:13 p.m. and council will reconvene its regular meeting. And moved by Deputy Mayor Smybert and seconded by Councillor Crockett. All in favor? That carries. Thanks. Okay. All right, so the next report is 10.5 on your agenda, LS-010-26, Council Compensation Review and Policy Direction for the 2026 to 2030 term. And we'll look to our clerk to present.
Good evening. This report before you today seeks direction to create a policy to review council composition every term and to establish remuneration rates for the upcoming 2026 to 2030 term. The goal with this report is to move away from one-time decisions relating to your compensation and moving towards more of a transparent, policy-driven initiatives. It align also with our municipal staff compensation. Historically, it has been reviewed for council as part of the once per term policy and used usually just before an election. This has never been formalized into writing, and during this term of council, you also were asked to consider it as part of the pay equity study. So I think it's a good idea that we write it in a policy and when we're going to be doing it. So this policy that I have not drafted, but the idea to asking to come back with one will ensure that this current council who understands the current workload and challenges would set the rate for an incoming council. And it supports basically public accountability and ensures that any candidates seeking election understand what the compensation rate is before they seek office. So I based the numbers that I'm proposing on that 2024 pay equity study that we received from Marianne Love Consulting. And it showed that the current pay structure is actually quite far below the midpoint range of neighboring municipalities and comparable municipalities. And to remain competitive and fair, my proposal is to choose the 60th percentile of the market rate, which aligns with what that pay equity study was given to staff. So if you guys choose to approve the recommendation, the new base salaries wouldn't actually take effect until the 1st of January 2027. And to kind of give fiscal context to this, the total increase is $18,805.08, which actually, according to our treasurer, who is way better at numbers than I am, represents a 0.015% increase to the overall municipal budget. So it's actually a very minuscule increase. And if you use girl math, it might even equal zero. So so basically, staff believe we're recommending this to council as we believe it's a modest increase and responsible investment to ensure we are continuing to attract dedicated individuals to local leadership. As we are in an election, it is great to help us ensure we get candidates who are interested and understand the pay does not quite cover all the workload, but there is a fair amount of work to it. So along with the policy, which would provide more clarity and consistency moving forward. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
So does anyone have any questions? Like over and above girl math? Deputy Mayor Smybert.
I guess just a comment. I'm in full support of a policy because I do think it that kind of helps take some of the questions in the debate out of council's hands. And if there's a policy, then I think that makes it easier, I think, for council to make a decision on it. And at the time when this report was brought forward to us, I'm not sure if it was in 2024 or 2025, I was fully supportive of increasing the rates at that time because I think it's important that, especially with the election that was coming up, that we were showing that we understand the workload and we think that there should be fair pay for that. My only concern is the timing of doing this now. I know that the intent was to do it close to the election. It's actually too close to the like for my comfort anyway. So, but fully supportive of a policy for sure. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to comment? No? So, in that case, then a mover and a seconder for the motion in front of you. Moved by Councillor Crockett and seconded by Councillor Lockie. All in favor? Any opposed? You're opposed? Okay. I'm in favor. Okay. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. We'll move on now to a report from our Chief Administrative Officer, CAO-008-26, Strategic Planning 2026 to 2030, council term. Go ahead.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor, to Council, thank you this evening for the opportunity to speak briefly about this. The report is a recommendation that this council consider setting up the next council term with the opportunity to start their term with a strategic planning exercise. What is required is an amendment to our 2026 budget to allow us to engage a facilitator who can help that next term of council kick off their term with strategic planning exercise, which really ends up being the umbrella policy direction for pretty much everything else that council plans for the term and beyond. So it is approximately $40,000 that we're estimating. It would likely be over 2 budget cycles in that you're engaging someone at the end of the year, and you likely still have them engaged at the start of 2027. But we think it would be a benefit to council for the start of the next term. So any questions, happy to help.
Any questions from the members of council on this report? Councillor Crockett.
Thank you, Mayor. Not necessarily a question, but I just wanted to share that I think this is integral for the success of the next term of council. When this current term started, we asked for a strategic plan to be budgeted for and then undertook one. And not to speak for everyone, but I think although we established a good foundation, I don't think the current plan is an A+. And I also feel very strongly that the current term of council should have input in shaping their priorities and direction. So I think this is a really good setup for the next term of council, and I'm in support of it.
Anyone else to comment on this? Councillor Lockie?
Yeah, through your worship, to the CAO. So with this new plan, how do you envision that this would be different from our last plan? How we could improve on it?
Through you to the councillor, oftentimes with the strategic plan, your mission and your vision are not likely to change significantly. So those could be tweaked, but there are also values. So those are the foundational components of a strategic plan. So mission and vision likely to be somewhat similar, but the values in which a new term of council brings to the organization about what they think is important, those might change. Additionally, then it's the priority action item areas. So those pillars, which may be similar, that are components of most municipal strategic plans, it's likely the action items that you're really going to do a deep dive into. What are the important components for you to achieve within the term of council? How are you going to go about doing them? And how will you know that you are there once you get there? So I think it's about making sure that you understand what it is you're trying to achieve, and then what are the components that what are the action items that you are going to go that or undertake that lead to the outcomes you're looking for. So as I mentioned in the report, staff have done a great job in providing annual highlights of what it is that council has achieved. And so there are components of this current strategic plan which are actually, in terms of the actions, completed. So you want to set the stage for new things to be undertaken, so you can either carry on the same path and continue to build, or tweak slightly and move in a slightly different direction.
Thank you.
Anyone else to comment? No, I don't see anyone else then. So the motion before us is that report number CAO-008-26, strategic planning, 2026 to 2030 council term be received for information, and that council amend the 2026 budget to include a one-time cost for the development of a strategic plan for the 2026-2030 council term. Moved by Deputy Mayor Smybert and seconded by Councillor Lockie. I'm sorry, Crockett. All in favor? And that carries. So number 11 is reports of committees, and there are no items for this. No unfinished business. Any notices of motion? No new business? Okay. So we'll move to item number 15, bylaws. So a mover and a seconder that bylaws 49-2026 through 552026 be read a first, second, and third time and be adopted. And that bylaw 40-2026 be given a third and final reading and be adopted. Deputy Mayor Smybert and Councillor Crockett. All in favor? And that carries. We have no closed session this evening, so we will move to the confirmatory bylaw. Confirmatory bylaw is to adopt, confirm, and ratify matters dealt with by resolution of the municipality of Thames Centre, and that bylaw 56-2026, the confirmatory bylaw, be read a first, second, and third and final time and be adopted. Mover and a seconder. Moved by Councillor Crockett and seconded by Councillor Lockie. All in favor? And that carries. So the only thing left is our meeting schedule. The next meeting of council regularly scheduled is for July the 20th at 5 p.m. here in the chambers, followed by Monday, August 31st, 2026 at 5 p.m. And I think that's it. Before adjournment, I'd like to wish everybody a wonderful and safe Canada Day. I hope everyone enjoys themselves and eats too much cake and too much hot dogs and no burns from firecrackers. Okay. All right. Yes. A mover and a seconder to adjourn the meeting at 6:27 p.m. Deputy Mayor Smybert and Council